I'm Ryan. Some people say raising the minimum wage is nothing more than charity.
I'm Ryan. Some say it's just not feasible. We'll discuss whether they are drunk or sober when we return.
You know, Betty White really is the greatest Golden Girl. Choosy parents choose Jif. He's so mean. He really is. Hey Ryan, are we out of partisan again?
Nobody working a minimum wage job is worth $15 an hour, drunk or sober.
I'll start again if you don't mind. Okay. Again, this is just... It's just completely off base. They're looking at it completely wrong because they're looking at the person and not what you're actually selling or what's actually being purchased. Minimum wage is not about the value of a person, it's about the value of labor. It's about the minimum value of labor, because in this transaction, in the capitalistic transition of purchasing a product, you pay someone, let's say I am buying something from you, I pay you for that product. In the capitalistic transition of me working for you, you are paying me not for me, you're paying me for my labor and for what I am doing for you.
Sure.
And what you are doing, or what I am doing for you in this case, is an integral part. It is a core need of your business. So they're looking at it all wrong. It's not about the person at all. It is about the function of labor and the minimum cost of labor in the United States. So they're way off base. And
How drunk would you describe that?
We're talking lazy eye drunk.
Oh,
Just you're not even focusing on anything here. So I also have a problem with someone, saying no one's worth this or you're not worth this when we're talking about the low end of the spectrum. Because let's turn this around and look at the high end of the spectrum. We're going to go into some sports here.
okay.
Let's say we're going to talk A-Rod.
Okay. I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's you can look him up on the library, I think it's called. So A-Rod made $20 million a year. Okay, it's a lot of money, right? To break that down for you, to let you know what that is, $20 million a year for playing 162 games. 162 games, the average length of a baseball game is about 3 hours. That means he got $20 million for 486 hours worth of work.
Okay.
To break that down more, it's $41,152 per hour.
Okay.
For context, $52,000 is the average household income of the United States.
And what was the hourly?
His hourly is $41,152, so
right.
almost what people make in a year. To give you an idea, if you work from 18 to 50 or to 68, and you make $52,000 a year, which I'm sure any 18-year-old kid would love, but probably someone who's 68 might not like it as much. But let's say you make that for your whole lifetime. You make $2.6 million. So what that means is A-Rod needed to play 21 games to make what you made in a lifetime.
But he's worth that.
You think he's worth it, really? What does he provide to society?
Capitalism says he's worth it.
So capitalism does, yes. But the thing is that when you're talking about minimum wage and the value, people never look up for that. They always look down. You're like, you're not worth this. I don't care about you.
That's true.
And so what they're really talking about is they say, this job isn't worth it. Look at this job. If you can say A-Rod, he provides wonderful entertainment. Or he did, back when he mattered. Provided this wonderful entertainment. It was great. But these people, all they're doing is mopping the floor, right?
Right.
What value does that provide? Well, if you're going to get into merit-based or democratically decided decisions of value for work, you're actually talking about socialism. That's literally what socialism is. Next round.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up sports. I wasn't going to talk about it, but you opened up something here. So this idea of some of baseball players and sports and athletes is this idea of what the market will bear. And I'm actually stealing this from someone else. I saw it on ESPN, who doesn't sponsor us. But I saw it, and I thought it was really good. So along those lines, if you're familiar with Brock Osweiler, who is the quarterback for the Houston Texans, he received a huge check this year for playing for the Texans. Ask them if he provides the value that they paid him. The market bared it. He got a lot of money, and he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Did he provide the value is the question. And the answer is no, he didn't. But the market bared it. But there's something inherently different about the market and actual value.
Yes.
Okay? So now I'll go into my actual talking points.
Okay.
So the only reason anyone in the world should ask why someone deserves $15 an hour is because it may impact their wallet. I get it. Yeah, giving someone an increase who provides goods or services generally transfers that increase to the price of goods or services sold.
It makes sense.
So I understand why you would question that. That's the only reason, though. But here's the deal. You don't question that when the people above minimum wage get increases. You don't ask what their salary is, even. All right? And there's two reasons for that. One is, deep down, we love knowing how much more than minimum wage we make. We like saying, I make 4 times minimum wage. And if you give them a 50% increase from $10 to $15, now it's only 2.5 times.
You don't feel as special?
No, it devalues me, even though they're mutually exclusive, but you feel devalued. All right, number 2 is because you're one of the people who makes more than minimum wage, and you don't want to fault yourself for the price increase. You're that group. So you're not going to ask what they make, you're not going to fault them for making what they make, and you're not going to fault them for getting increases every year.
Right.
So my mom taught me you never discuss salary or money with people because it's rude.
Okay.
With minimum wage workers, not only do we discuss salary, we actually tell them how little they should make. And I'm using those words, how little, very specifically. It's not how much do you make.
Right.
It's how little do we want you to make.
Oh, wait, because, well, on that, if minimum wage puts you in poverty, then you're not like, look how much you make, you're in poverty.
Exactly. That's how little you make. So not only are we rude, but we're cruel.
Okay.
Okay? So there's a bigger issue here, and there's an underlying insidious lie that exists here. And that is that the American dream, as we know it or knew it, still exists. All right, that's a lie that we're perpetuating, that we tell ourselves, that we tell others all the time. And the American dream was, you work hard, you get a decent wage, you put a roof over your family's head. And specifically, the roof is you own a home was the American dream. So even if we let that go, it all starts with this lie of you work hard. Working hard gets you that decent wage. So we tell all of these lazy minimum wage people work harder like we did. So now we're going to play a game, Ryan.
Oh, I love games.
It's going to be, how hard is this job?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's the job. So we're going to start with white-collar office jobs.
Okay.
Typically make more than minimum wage.
Yep.
Okay. What I like about this specifically is they're not specialty jobs. All right. So being a doctor would be a specialized job.
Yes.
Being a lawyer, specialized job. Being a scientist, specialized job.
Sure.
Right. White-collar office work is generally not specialized and goes across many industries.
Sure.
And so I would argue that the jobs themselves are basically the same. The industry knowledge would be the difference.
Sure.
Okay.
But Excel is Excel, Word is Word.
Right. So if you were a white-collar office worker,
Okay.
give me one of those tasks you would perform that qualifies as, this is a hard job. I worked harder. What is a task you would perform?
A task that I might perform would be perhaps looking over a budget.
Okay. Looking at numbers.
Yes.
Okay. That's the hard task number 1.
Sure.
Okay. Give me another one.
Let's see. I might have to sit through a really boring meeting.
I'm glad you brought that one up. Yes. Go to meetings.
Okay.
Number 2.
Okay.
Okay, at those meetings, you might have to ask a question. You might have to respond to a question. You might have to take notes, write, or type.
Meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes, that's right. You might have to write down what someone else just said.
Okay.
All right, so what else? What else you got?
Let's say I also, oh my God, let's see, what
You
else?
might have to answer a phone.
Oh, I might have to answer a phone.
You might have to make a phone call.
Yep.
So I'm just going to demonstrate. Hello?
Hi.
There it is. That was it. That was it. I did the task. I'm exhausted. That's the hard work we're doing. Oh, and let me try another one. Hello? Yep. So that was me making the phone call. So first one answering, second one making. I had to type more numbers.
Very different.
You might have to type an email. You might have to read the email, perhaps print, and walk over and pick it up and take it to somebody. All right?
Yeah.
Those are the hard tasks that above minimum wage jobs, white collar office work requires. Those are the hard tasks. Now let's look at blue-collar jobs.
Yes.
All right. Give me a task a blue-collar worker might do.
Let's say you have to take out garbage.
Carry things, okay? I'm dumbing it down. I'm just trying to really get the tasks focused. What else you got?
Something else you might have to do, you might have to cook food.
Cook. Okay, so take things and heat them. Okay.
Let's see, other things you might need to do. You might need to mop floors.
Mop. Okay. So what we're seeing, one thing I didn't point out is those white-collar office jobs. What's your environment like?
Oh, it's climate controlled.
Climate controlled. Okay. Do you sit or stand most of the time?
Oh, you better be sitting.
Yes, you sit most of the time. So blue collar, do you sit or stand most of the time?
I'm going to say you stand most of the time.
Is it climate controlled most of the time?
Maybe to some degree, but probably not. Not if
Sometimes you work outside in the elements.
outside. Certainly not if you're cooking. It's going to be hot. Okay.
Next to hot things. Okay. The point is not how hard a minimum wage job is. That's not the point I'm making. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not it's harder. I'm going to say at the bare minimum, when you go through the tasks, they're equally hard. So the question is, what is the difference between them?
Okay.
All right, so if we go back to the white-collar job, and we say, okay, you're answering the phone. Well, you're not just answering the phone, right? You're answering the phone, and by doing so, you're expected to be able to communicate. You're expected to be able to maneuver or manipulate or understand.
Comprehend.
Comprehend. Yes, comprehend. And that goes for emails, right? It's not just typing. You have to type something concise and to the point and organized. It's organizing. It's not just going to the meeting. It's be able to respond to questions accurately and timely. It's able to provide insights to the questions. It's able not just to write down the meeting notes or the meeting minutes. It's to organize them, to give them to someone else. And looking at the budget, the very first thing you said, you're not just staring at it. No, you're analyzing it.
You're adding value.
You're adding value. This is brain power, not hard work. It's brain power. So the question is, if we're going to stop lying and say it's not about hard work, it's about brain power, what makes these white-collar office jobs different? What are the things you need to get them? Because it's not hard work. We just said hard work is the equivalent. So what do you actually need? I've come down with 3 things for this. Okay. Number 1, intelligence.
Yes.
All right? You have to be smart. And what does that get you? Intelligence oftentimes breeds knowledge. Okay? People who are intelligent typically have a thirst for knowledge, not always, but typically.
Sure.
So when you're more knowledgeable, you're more confident, you're more able to answer questions, you're a better interview, you got a better resume, you organize your thoughts, you manipulate people, you make them think that you're good at stuff.
Maybe you did better in school too.
You probably did better at school because you're just inherently more intelligent. Let's say you're not book smart. Let's say you have emotional intelligence. Okay, what does that mean? It means you are able to empathize with the other person's perspective, which means you're more readily available to respond to it, which means you're better to motivate, be more convincing, be more confident. Emotional intelligence is important, and it makes you likable.
Yeah.
Likable is really important. Just think about all the people you know who aren't advancing in life. Perhaps they're not very bright, perhaps they're not likable. All right, so those are 2 things. Next one, it's people you know.
Yeah.
All right, so people you know. It could be networking. You might go out of your way to network with somebody and say, hey, I know you, can you help me out? All right, but maybe it's not even that obvious. Maybe it's you came from a good family, in a good neighborhood, in a good community, that you had people who cared about you, that taught you life. These are the important things in life. All right, so if you want to get in college, you're going to have to do A, B, and C. In order to do A, B, and C, you're going to have to do D, E, and F, right? Your grades need to be important. I'm going to come home every night and ask you how you're doing. I'm going to make sure you did the things. You came from a good family. If you didn't have a good family, you had a good mentor. But these are just people who helped you navigate life because there's plenty of people who don't have that. And then number 3, luck. But I'm going to argue luck is a combination of intelligence and likability. All right? So all of those, by the way, people want to help nurture you, the people you know, when you're likable. And the hypocrisy here.
No one wants to spend time with a piece of shit.
That's right. And I don't even mean that you're a piece of shit. You're just weird. There's plenty of weird people that aren't getting ahead because someone's like, that guy's a weirdo. What a freak. What a psycho. Right? I'm not saying that all minimum wage workers are that, but telling someone who's not smart, who is weird, who came from a bad background, who doesn't understand the system to work harder, is hypocritical. And the biggest hypocrisy here is most of us who have succeeded didn't develop those, because some of those can be developed. You can develop knowledge to some extent emotional intelligence, networking, that kind of thing. But most of us didn't do that. We didn't go out of our way saying, man, I'm really low on emotional intelligence. I should go to a seminar for that.
Let me spend hours in psychiatry.
Right, exactly. We didn't do it, and it's hypocrisy. But the reason we say that the American dream still exists is so we can pass the responsibility on to those schlubs who don't have the things we have. And we don't want to admit that because then we can't take credit for our success. Because you can't take credit for being intelligent. No, it's genetics.
Yeah.
Likability is largely genetics or something you accidentally discovered, as you developed as a human being. People you know. That definitely is environmental, and sometimes you can do it, but a lot of times you can't, and most of us didn't spend our time. Which means that if we want those people to succeed and get those better jobs, we're going to have to do something at our expense. And we just don't like that. Last call.
I'm going to piggyback on something you said earlier.
Go for it.
A little bit. One of the other reasons we don't like the idea of someone getting $10 an hour getting raised to $15 an hour is because we're not going to get a raise. And we're petty and jealous.
Now, there you go. Yep.
Like, hey, they didn't do anything different. Why do they deserve that? I deserve that.
Right.
But nothing's going to change for me, right?
That's true.
So
we can talk out both sides of our mouths. Either we get the raise, and we're not going to mention it, or we didn't, and they did, and we want it.
Yep.
We're just really selfish.
Last call.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro.
Madam Brewmaster, next talking point.